Okay, so fifth episode of AI's Hit, where we will, again, in an attempt to understand AI's capacity for photography, focus on the history of past and present photographers, famous photographers. As for last week, we'll try to see how AI handles style and knowledge and creates images from it. So I will rely on OpenAI, Dall-E for illustrations, and Open GPT for historical data. Um, so this week's mystery photographer, AI, could you tell us more about the bio?
He was a Jewish American photographer active in the first half of the 20th century. He was born in Germany in 1890 and began his career as a portrait photographer in Frankfurt. He later moved to New York City, where he established himself as a prominent society and fashion photographer, working for magazines such as Vogue and Harper's Bazaar. He was known for his striking use of light and shadow and for his ability to capture the glamour and elegance of the era. During the 1920s, his reputation as a portrait photographer grew rapidly, and he quickly became one of the most sought-after photographers of the decade. He was a master of the photographic portrait, able to create a sense of intimacy and connection with his subjects, while also capturing their character and individuality. In the 1930s, he moved back to Europe, where he photographed many celebrities and artists, and where he continued to work as a fashion photographer. He was forced to flee Nazi Germany, and he arrived to the United States in 1939, where he kept working as a photographer, but with little public recognition during the rest of his life. He passed away in New York City in 1948.
Okay, so maybe some of you have recognized the photographer. Ta-da! It's Anton Bruhl. So yeah, AI, could you please tell us more about his style?
Anton Bruhl was known for his highly stylized and meticulously composed photographs, often featuring elegant and fashionable subjects.
Nice, the two first pictures. We definitely, I believe, find some of his touch with some quite strong contrast. Again, it's definitely a little bit naive the way AI represents those photos, but I think there's something coming out. Maybe because it's using the style of a period also, and but yeah, interesting.
He was heavily influenced by the Art Deco movement and used bold colors and geometric shapes in his compositions.
Okay, here interesting. Also, two pictures. The picture on the left. We definitely find those patterns, and there are some modifications that don't really look photographic and more look more like painting. But that's a little bit something we can find in all the results I've had for the last weeks, last episodes. And on the right, I think AI here kind of wanted to put him back in the picture, so it looks more like he's taking picture of a set. But we do find some of the geometrical pattern that we would find in his work, and again in a very naive way. It's interesting to see um, how imprecise AI is in rendering the style, but there's a hint of his style, in my opinion.
He also made extensive use of retouching and manipulation in the darkroom to achieve the desired effects. His work stands out for its glamour, elegance, and attention to detail, which set it apart from the more candid and spontaneous styles of many of his contemporaries.
Yeah, here those two pictures. I think we do find some of the style of the photographer with high contrast, well set up photos. Don't hesitate to put your comments below and disagree. The picture on the left, I'm not sure about the color rendering here, but it could be, and also the focus. But there's something maybe that could be attributed to the photographer. The portrait on the right, in this case, like we've seen in the past, if it seems that when AI focuses on something that it feels more comfortable with, it's more realistic. Here it really looks better in terms of photographical qualities, but yeah, interesting results, I guess. And while we have an AI Anton at our disposal, let's ask him to create a something for us. So let's ask for a portrait of a person wearing a hat, well dressed, standing in front of a souvenir shop, holding a magazine, and looking at a horse far away. Again, photo in the style of Anton Bruhl. And ta-da! Yeah. Interesting. Definitely seems AI doesn't really understand object looking at each other, their interrelationship. Like it put the horse behind in the background. The subject in both sides, while on the right he looks like Freddy Krueger. We don't really know where he's looking at. We don't really see his facial traits, but we feel that he's looking somewhere. The portrait on the left is definitely looking somewhere, but the horse is behind. And again, some of the elements of the picture of both pictures are more realistic in terms of photographic looks than others. Otherwise, it's still very imprecise, as we've seen in previous episodes. Those two pictures are, I think, better. But as it's on the picture before, on the left picture here, the horse is standing on the roof. It's probably the same. I don't know what goes on in the AI black box that creates those images, but interestingly enough, I think there is some of the style of Anton Bruhl. So maybe again, like every week, I feel that I project a little bit towards it. It might simply be because it's putting elements from the time and the clothing, the style of the subjects he's trying to depict are from that period, but there's definitely something. Something I kind of find intriguing is if we look at previous episodes, often AI tries to put some frames with portraits in it in the composition. As you can see on the picture on the left, with someone that might look like Richard Nixon. Anyways, interesting. And increasingly, in this last part of the presentation, I go towards the pictures that I felt were the better ones. Here's those two last pictures from the assignment. I kind of really like the looks of it. I feel they're more into the style that we could find with Bruhl. Again, the horse, like in all the examples here, obviously there's no link between it. Doesn't AI doesn't understand that the person is looking at the horse. It's trying to show it's looking at something. It's understanding the concept of horse. But yeah, but anyhow, it's also it's sometimes mixing things. Like on the magazine on the right, we can see the horses on the cover. How does that work? I don't know, but still quite impressed. The colors look a little bit like Kodachrome, so definitely colors that could look like some of the early color qualities of photographs, and the style is there. Yeah, there's some inspiration. Anyways, please feel free to post comments and say what you think. But yeah, please go and check and refresh your memories on the real work of Anton Bruhl and his real history, online or in books or in exhibitions. And yeah, hopefully that was entertaining, and see you next week.
Yeah.